the silence before the storm. The night was quiet, but Keanu Reeves sat alone in a dimly lit room, his head resting on his hand. Outside, the city was alive with lights, but inside, his thoughts carried him far away. Fame surrounded him. Cameras followed him. Fans adored him. But behind the glow of Hollywood, there was a silence only he could hear. Keanu's story had always seemed simple from the outside. A successful actor, loved worldwide, known for his calm and humble nature. But what most people didn't know was how much pain he carried inside. As a child, he grew up without a steady home, moving from city to city. His father had left when he was young, and his mother worked hard to keep the family together. When Keanu started acting, people thought his life had turned perfect, but life was not so kind. He faced tragedy after tragedy, losing people he loved, enduring moments that could break the strongest soul. Yet he never let bitterness take over his heart. This is where the suspense begins. One night after finishing a shoot, Keanu walked through the empty streets of Los Angeles. He wore no disguise, no sunglasses, no bodyguards around him. He just walked quietly, as if searching for something the world could never give. A group of people recognized him from afar. They expected the superstar, the untouchable man from the big screen. But what they saw would leave them stunned. Keanu stopped near a small cafe, where a homeless man was sitting on the ground with nothing but a torn blanket. Instead of passing by, Keanu bent down and spoke softly to him. The people, watching, froze in silence. They had never seen a man of such fame lowering himself to sit beside someone who had nothing. The homeless man lifted his head slowly, his tired eyes filling with surprise. And at that moment, Keanu smiled. Not the smile of a movie star, but the smile of someone who understood pain, someone who had walked through it himself. What happened in the next few minutes would become a memory that no camera captured, but everyone present would carry in their hearts forever. The unseen conversation. The night breeze was cold, but Keanu did not move. He sat down on the sidewalk next to the homeless man, while the group of bystanders stood frozen in disbelief. People were whispering, some even pulling out their phones, but Keanu's attention never drifted away from the man before him. "Are you hungry?" Keanu asked in a gentle voice. The man looked confused, as if he could not believe the question was real. His lips trembled. "Yes, but I don't have money." Keanu reached into his pocket, not to pull out cash, but to search for something small. He found a half-eaten sandwich wrapped in paper that he had carried from the film set earlier. It was simple food, nothing grand, but he unwrapped it and handed it to the man. The homeless man hesitated. You're Keanu Reeves." Keanu gave a faint smile. "I'm just a person, and right now I think you need this more than me." The man took the sandwich, his hands shaking, and for the first time that evening, tears rolled down his dusty cheeks. It was not because of the food alone, but because someone the world called a star, had treated him like a human being. The bystanders continued watching. Many of them had seen celebrities ignore fans, rush into luxury cars, or cover their faces with shades. But here was a man who chose to sit on the hard ground, listening to the struggles of someone forgotten by the world. The homeless man slowly began to speak. His name was Michael. Once he had a small job at a repair shop, a wife, and a child. But after an accident, he lost his job. Then his home, and finally his family walked away because he could no longer provide. He spoke in a broken voice, and every word carried the weight of years of loneliness. Keanu listened carefully, never interrupting. His eyes reflected not pity, but deep respect. "Life can be cruel," Keanu said softly. "I lost people I loved too. I know what it feels like when the world moves on and you are left behind." Michael's eyes widened. No stranger had ever admitted something like that to him before, especially not a man the world saw as untouchable. Suddenly, one of the bystanders called out, "Keanu, can I take a picture?" The moment was about to break. Keanu looked up calmly and shook his head. "Please," he said. "Not now. This is not about me." The crowd went silent. They realized they were witnessing something rare, something more valuable than a photograph. As the night deepened, Keanu and Michael continued to talk, their voices low, their hearts open. Keanu knew he could not change Michael's life overnight, but in that moment, he gave him something far more powerful than money: dignity, respect, and the reminder that he was not invisible. When Keanu finally stood up, he extended his hand to Michael. "I don't know where your road will lead next, but remember, you still matter." The homeless man held his hand tightly, as if holding on to hope itself. And as Keanu walked away into the night, the people watching were left speechless. They had come expecting a glimpse of a celebrity, but what they saw instead was the soul of a man who had never let fame steal his humanity. The suspense grew deeper. Little did anyone know, this single night, this quiet act of kindness, would lead to an unexpected turn that would test Keanu's own strength and heart in the days to come. The shadow of memory. The night after that quiet encounter, Keanu could not sleep. He lay in his apartment staring at the ceiling, replaying Michael's voice in his mind. The story of a man who lost everything struck too close to his own wounds. Keanu had always carried invisible scars. He remembered being a teenager, struggling, in school because of dyslexia. Teachers thought he was slow, classmates laughed, and friends drifted away. He never said much about it, but inside, he always felt like an outsider. Then came the bigger storms. His father left when he was only a child. Later, as he grew older, tragedies hit harder. Losing his closest friend, River Phoenix, losing a daughter before she could even take her first breath, and then losing Jennifer, the woman he loved, in a sudden accident. Each time, the world saw him smile on screen. But behind the lights, he carried a silence heavier than words. That was why Michael's broken story hit him like a mirror. He knew the feeling of falling, the loneliness of having no one to catch, you. But unlike Michael, Keanu had found a way to keep walking, even when his heart felt shattered. As dawn approached, Keanu made a decision. He would not let that night be just another passing memory. He would find Michael again. The next evening, he returned to the same cafe. The street was busy with cars and voices, but his eyes searched only for one face. After a long wait, he saw him, Michael, sitting in the same spot, wrapped in the same torn blanket. Keanu walked up quietly and sat beside him once more. Michael's eyes widened. "You came back?" Keanu nodded. "I told you, you matter." This time, Keanu had brought 2 cups of hot coffee and a bag of food. They sat together, eating in silence at first, but soon their conversation deepened. "People look at me like I'm nothing," Michael whispered. Keanu's voice was steady. "That's because they don't know your story. Every person is carrying something heavy, but not everyone sees it. I learned that the hard way, but your life isn't over. It only looks dark now." Michael stared at him as if trying to believe the words. "But what if I never get back up?" Keanu leaned closer, his tone calm but firm. "Then you try again. Even if you fall 10 times, you try 11. That's what makes us human, not the times we win, but the times we rise after falling." For a moment, Michael's eyes filled with light. No one had ever spoken to him like this. Not with pity, but with respect. And as the city lights glowed around them, the bystanders who passed by slowed down to watch. Once again, the quiet presence of Keanu Reeves had turned an ordinary street into something extraordinary. But deep inside, Keanu knew this was not only about helping Michael. It was about facing his own shadows. In Michael's struggle, he saw his own battles reflected. He realized that kindness was not only about giving, it was also about healing. Little did he know this choice, to return, to keep showing up, would soon take him into a journey bigger than he imagined. Because Michael's story was not finished, and fate had its own way of weaving lives together. The stage was being set for a test that would challenge not only Michael's hope, but also Keanu's strength to keep believing in kindness when the world grew crueler. The breaking point days passed, and Keanu continued visiting Michael. Sometimes he brought food, sometimes just a warm cup of tea, but always he brought something more powerful, his presence. For Michael, each evening became a lifeline, a reminder that he was not forgotten. But the world is not always kind, even when kindness exists. One night, as Keanu arrived at the cafe, he saw flashing red and blue lights. A police car was parked on the side, and Michael was being pulled up roughly by 2 officers. His blanket and few belongings lay scattered on the street. "He can't sleep here anymore," one officer barked. "He's trespassing on private property." Michael struggled, fear in his eyes. "Please, I wasn't hurting anyone." Before he could finish, Keanu stepped forward. "Wait," he said calmly, his voice low but steady. The officers turned, instantly recognizing him. Their grip loosened, but their eyes stayed cold. "Mr. Reeves, this isn't your concern." Keanu looked at Michael, then back at them. "He's not causing harm. He's just trying to survive. Let me take responsibility for him tonight." The officers hesitated. One of them whispered something about avoiding trouble with a famous actor, then finally stepped back. "Fine, but this can't go on forever." They left, leaving behind silence and a shaken Michael. Michael sank too, the ground covering his face. "They treat me like I'm dirt, like I don't exist." Keanu crouched beside him. "Listen to me," he said firmly. "You exist. I see you, and I won't walk away." Michael's hands trembled as he looked up. "Why? Why do you care about me? You could be anywhere else. You have everything, and I have nothing." Keanu's eyes softened, but his voice was filled with quiet weight. "I don't have everything. I lost family. I lost love. I know what it feels like to stand in the middle of the world and feel invisible. I know your pain, Michael, even if our stories are different. And if I can sit here with you, maybe we both don't have to carry it alone." The air around them grew still. For Michael, the words cut through years of loneliness. For Keanu, they echoed truths he rarely spoke out loud. But just as the moment grew tender, a sudden voice from the crowd pierced it. "Is this real? Or is this some publicity stunt?" A man sneered, pulling out his phone. Others began filming, murmuring, doubting. The spell was broken. Michael shrank into himself, ashamed. Keanu stood slowly, his eyes locking onto the crowd. His voice, though calm, carried fire. "You think kindness needs cameras? You think pain disappears because someone is famous? Stop looking for a performance. This isn't for you. This is for him." The crowd fell into uneasy silence. Some lowered their phones. Others walked away, embarrassed. Keanu turned back to Michael, who whispered, "They'll never let me live with dignity." And Keanu replied softly, "Then we'll fight for it, together." But even as he spoke those words, a shadow loomed inside his heart. He knew helping Michael was no longer a simple act of compassion. It was becoming a journey that would demand more than food or time. It would test his patience, his strength, and even his belief in hope. Because in the days to come, Michael's hidden past would resurface, and with it, choices that could shatter everything Keanu was trying to build. The weight of the pasta. A week later, Keanu walked once again to the cafe corner where Michael usually sat. But this time, the space was empty. No torn blanket, no figure waiting. Only silence. Keanu asked around, but no one had seen him. Worry filled his chest. Hours, Later, as he turned into a narrow alley nearby, he finally spotted Michael, sitting against a wall, his face buried in his arms. Beside him, a crumpled notice lay on the ground. Keanu picked it up. It was a police warning, stating Michael had been caught in a theft at a local shop. Keanu froze. He looked at Michael, who could not meet his eyes. "Is this true?" Keanu asked, quietly. Michael's voice cracked. I stole food. I was hungry. I couldn't stand it anymore. I promised myself I wouldn't fall that low, but I did. And now I've ruined everything." His shoulders shook with shame. "This is who I am, Keanu. No matter what you say, I'm just a failure." Keanu stood in silence. The easy choice would have been to walk away, to tell himself that he had tried, that some people couldn't be saved. But his heart wouldn't let him. He remembered his own failures, his own dark nights when he wanted to give up. He sat down beside Michael once again. "You made a mistake," he said softly. "But a mistake doesn't define your whole life. We all fall, Michael. I've fallen too. What matters is whether you stay down or whether you stand again." Michael's tears spilled. "But no one will ever give me another chance." Keanu placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then I will." The words hung heavy in the air, but they were real. From that day forward, Keanu began helping Michael in ways deeper than food or conversation. He connected him with a local shelter that offered support. He spoke to people he trusted who could give Michael small work, something to rebuild dignity. He didn't throw money at him. He gave him what was harder to give: time, patience, and faith. The journey wasn't easy. Michael struggled, sometimes losing hope again, sometimes wanting to run back to the streets. But each time, Keanu reminded him of that simple truth: you still matter. Months passed. Michael, once broken and invisible, slowly began to change. His eyes carried light again. He started working at a repair shop, fixing small machines with steady hands. He wasn't rich, he wasn't famous, but he was no longer alone. One evening, as Keanu visited the shop, Michael stood tall, cleaner clothes on his back, oil stains on his fingers. He looked at Keanu with gratitude that words could not hold. "You saved me," Michael whispered. Keanu shook his head gently. "No, you saved yourself. I just reminded you that you could." The room grew quiet. Michael's eyes filled with tears, not of despair, but of hope. And as Keanu walked out into the evening light, he carried a quiet smile. He knew he could not fix every broken soul, could not heal every wound in the world. But if one man could rise again because someone chose not to walk away, that was enough.